next we're going to start talking about Excel. Excel is what's known as a spreadsheet program or a workbook program. Let's go ahead and open it up. I'm going to just open that. It's this green X here. Now you'll see it's very familiar to what we saw in Word, where I've got the options for some templates, or as we're going to do, I'm going to choose just an Excel workbook, which is going to be a blank workbook. And then we have the same sort of interface where I have my ribbon up here with the ribbon tabs, and we're going to be talking about several things within the ribbon as we move through this. In my actual workspace here, you can see that I have a grid. I have a grid of columns and rows. This is what's called my workbook. A workbook is an electronic grid that consists of rows and columns and that performs numerical calculations. It's used for analyzing data, for calculating loan payments, for organizing data in a chart, and much, much, much more. It is an extremely useful program and can do all manner of powerful things. We're just going to be scratching the surface of things that can be done in Excel in these videos. So you can see that I have my columns, which run from top to bottom, and those are labeled right here on the very top, and they're labeled alphabetically. So we have column A, column B, column C, so on and so forth. The rows run side to side, and they're labeled numerically, so row 1, row 2, row 3. And the intersection of a column and row is known as a cell. So this little spot right here, this rectangle where column D intersects with row 4 is a cell. And the cells are called by the column and row that are intersecting. So this particular cell is called D4. This cell over here is B3, and so on and so forth. Now, a way that you can see which cell is selected at the moment is by looking right up here. This is in this name tab here. It says B3. If I click over here, it says H10. But the selected cell is what is known as the active cell. So when I say that you need to go to the active cell, it's going to do this to the active cell. That's what I'm referring to as the one that is selected at that time. Now, you can tell which cell is selected or cells are selected by this dark blue frame around the cell. So I can tell that E6 is selected because it's dark blue around it. I can also tell which column and row it is because they get a little darker. So you can see that E is a little bit darker than the ones around it, and 6 is a little bit darker than the ones around that. Now, before we get into doing the things that we can do with Excel, we're going to learn how to select cells, because selecting cells is extremely important. We're going to be doing a lot of it as we're working with things. So first of all, I can select a single cell just by clicking on it like I've been doing. If I click on that cell, it selects that cell. If I wish to select an entire row, then all I need to do is click on the row heading over here. So if I want to select all of row 9, I just click the 9, and you see that entire row is selected. And it selects it all. If I scroll to the right, you can see that I'm, L, M, N. Pretty soon it doubles over. I mean, this is selecting it all the way as far as it can go, not just to the edge of the page here. If I want to select a column, the exact same thing. I just come up and click on the column heading, selects that going down. If I want to select a group of cells, I can just click and drag. You can see I drag down, drag sideways, or drag diagonally, and select a group of cells. If I wish to select an entire worksheet, then I'm just going to come up and I'm going to click this little triangle in the upper left. It's above the 1 and to the left of the A, and you see that selects the entire worksheet. Okay. Now, a couple of additional shortcuts for selecting. They're a little more advanced. One of them we'll be using later on. One is using the Shift key, and the other is using the Command key. So with the Shift key, if I just select a cell and then hold down Shift and select another cell, it will select all the cells between those two as well. So again, I'm going to select E6, come down to E22, and hold Shift and click it, and it selects everything E6 to E22. If I go diagonal, selects everything between them all the way as far as the columns and the rows. So that's holding Shift. Now if I hold Command, it allows me to kind of cherry pick my selection. So I'm going to hold Command. You can see I can add this one to it, add that one to it. The ones that are selected stay blue. I can click and drag and grab these ones, click and drag and grab those ones, and you can see that I've got all these different cells that aren't anywhere by each other, all selected at the same time. So that's holding Command while you do the selection, allows you to add to a selection anywhere you want to. Okay. Now, you can also navigate around, rather than clicking, you can navigate around with the arrow keys. So if I go arrow to the left, arrow to the right, arrow up, arrow down, that navigates as well. And I can also, if I press tab, it moves one to the right. If I press return, it moves one down. There is one catch to that. If I'm entering information, and we'll come back to this in a minute, let's say that I type 1, tab, 2, tab, 3, tab 4. When I press return, it's not actually going to go down below the 4. It's going to go down below the 1. So return drops down, but also moves back to the first one if you were doing the tabs. Now, if I hadn't been doing the tabs, if I just went and selected the 3 and then pressed return, it would drop down below the 3. But if you're doing the tabs to move to the right, return will kind of reset it back over to the leftmost one and move down one. So, a few ways to move around using the keyboard as well. In our next video, we're going to start digging into some of the things we can actually do with the cells, but that's a general overview of the interface itself.